Well, first of all, tell us your journey. How did you get into dentistry? How did you end up in the dental world?
So 2014, here as luck would have it, here in town, there's obviously now we know that it's not, I don't know if it's the mecca of DSOs, but there's a lot of large DSOs here in the DFW Metroplex and certainly in Texas. So I got introduced to a DSO group that had 22 locations at the time called Floss Dental, and we took over their marketing. So we basically implemented exactly the same thing we have done for the pain management with the dashboard. But over there, they were running Eaglesoft, and we started playing around with grabbing data out of Eaglesoft. Some basic metrics at start, like production, collection, adjustments, no KPIs. But again, trying to solve this operational inefficiency that existed, across the healthcare sector, if you will, at large. We saw it on pain management, and we saw it also on the dental side. And that's what happened in 2014. By happenstance, again, the chief legal counsel was a gentleman named Justin Puckett, and Justin Puckett went to become the president of Mb2 Dental. So Justin reached out to me somewhere around 2016.
Justin, wow.
Yeah. So Justin says to me, hey, I'm part of this DSO. They have 67 locations, and we want to basically build this platform. And I think it will be a great evolution from what you guys have done before. And, I didn't have to think about it twice because, again, like from a computer science standpoint, I love, solving complex problems. And again, that was a great challenge for us. We had to go and work with the team over there of very, very brilliant people, Justin Carroll, Dr. V, the entire, the Mara, the VP of IT, and the entire team over there are like extremely brilliant. And they had spent a lot of time in identifying their own operational inefficiencies and points in their processes, right? Because if you look at DSOs are essentially an engine. And that engine is human capital, but it's also processes and it's also infrastructure. And I think Jarvis was that kind of like building block and the foundation of the infrastructure. And that was somewhere in 2017, I believe, February of 2017. We went live with Mb2 Dental, and we had 67 locations. And that was like month one. They continued to grow. They went through the first recap event with Sentinel Capital Partners a little after, 10, 11 months after that. And, shortly after that, we kind of like pivoted and started working on another entity owned by Sentinel, which is Ultima Dental. So we kind of like went to Canada, even though we don't advertise that, we do work in Canada, and started working with another DSO that I think has now 62 locations. Came back and the process, kept going on and continuously to evolve and solve different problems at scale.
And so what is your unique selling proposition right now? Is it mostly DSOs? Is it mostly people who have multiple locations? Is that who's really paying attention? Is that who you're serving mostly right now?
So I think at the very beginning when we founded Jarvis and where we've been so far has been the DSO. That has been our beachhead, and that's where we have a totally unfair advantage. Again, because we're building with DSOs for DSOs, and that has been our focus. Build something at scale, build something, identify all these small problems across all those DSOs. Have these amazing people, from clients that I have, Deca, Marquee, Mb2. Encore, many others that help us see the world in a different set of eyes, if you will.
You say dental analytics, workflows, marketing technology, dental market acquisition, industry consolidation. What's your signature item, would you say?
Our signature item is basically Jarvis, which is a single unified platform that brings as a foundation those analytics. And then on top of that layers workflows, KPIs, reporting, and additional modules that we have developed for our client.
Well, I've always said this on the show, so I hope the kids listening this time get the point. But I've always said that if you see a product out there and it makes perfect business sense, has nothing to do with clinical dentistry, root canals, build-up crowns, all that kind of stuff, but business-wise, it's just a no-brainer, then the DSOs always jump on it first. And, I mean, look at all the people who jumped on this. Ultimate Dental, Blue Sea Capital, Chicago Pacific Founders, Deca Dental Group, Dentiv, Marquee Dental Partners, Mb2 Dental, P4D Partnerships for Dentists, Centennial Capital Partners, Unified Dental Care, NAK. That's impressive. I mean, these are people that only do business, that raise money, that know their numbers, know their benchmarks, and they're on your solution. That speaks volumes. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I mean, again, it's a group effort. Like we listen to our customers very, very closely. We understand what they're trying to solve, and we help them solve those problems. And I think data is key. And just to quote, the chief clinical officer at the DECA, Dr. Rodney Alice, he said, like, when you go to the doctors, you cannot complain about production. You have to show them what drives production. You have to show them, like, there's a color coding on Jarvis. There's a, green, red, and yellow. And you can very easily show and say, hey, here's how you're ranking when you look at these clinical KPIs and what can we do to improve it, as opposed to looking at just hard numbers and complain about the average, production per patient, for example.
Yeah, and I agree. That's what I call that is an actionable KPI. I mean, who cares what your data is if it doesn't make you make a decision, change your behavior? You need data that makes you change your behavior. Data
is kind of like everything, because without data, you cannot make any informed decision. And that's kind of like where Jarvis shines and gives you insights. Like, for example, when you're thinking of new patients or when you're thinking of returning patients, nobody says, hey, let me just figure out how to optimize that channel. Like, is Google bringing me more patients? Is their first visit production, 250 versus, 400 for yellow pages or some other kind of like, medium? Is my payer performing the same? What's my production for new patient per payer, right? And then you'll see a huge variance, especially costs and different plans. How do I, what's my payer source for returning patients? There's all these little pieces of information in there that help you make very, very informed decisions in how you optimize your data. We bring in, for example, your top 10 referrals, your top 10 payers, your top 10 employers by zip code. So when you run a marketing campaign or any kind of like outreach program, you understand that, hey, in my area, I happen to have, a Joe's Lawyer Insurance. I happen to have, Boeing. I happen to have some other employer. And now I can go in touch and be in touch with them and come up with an offer or a plan for their employees. And we see that also increasingly happening now, especially with on-site dentists, right, in throughout the United States.
Last question, where do you see yourself being in 5 years? What's your 5-year plan? How will Jarvis look in 5 years?
I think we're going to continue to innovate and consolidate and offer, innovative solutions that would include, we just launched online scheduling right now. We're looking into essentially rolling out patient communications and essentially making Jarvis the central universe, the hub of a healthy, growing practice. So instead of having 50 different practice management systems and different, services, Jarvis becomes that core. We're not going to be developing a practice management system, but I want to be that layer on top of that practice management system and offer 360 kind of like services.